Now that we understand the basics of how to create a layer mask, let's talk about how we can use the selection tools and gradients to make it a little more efficient. So if you remember, we have all of our selection tools up here on the top. We have our marquees, we have the lassos, but now our favorites are the third set down, which is the quick selection tool and the magic wand. Magic wand will choose according to pixel color, and the quick selection tool gives you a brush which you can make larger or smaller, either up here or with your bracket key. The left bracket key makes it littler and the right makes it larger, and those are next to the P. And if you click, you can push and drag the selection where you like. Now it's not perfect, we have some cleaning up to do, but this has gotten me awfully close now. So at this point, I'm on my layer mask. I can take my paintbrush and with a very large black brush, just scrub over the whole thing. I can deselect by going up to select and deselect. Remember, your keyboard shortcut is Control-D. And then if you need to clean anything up on that mask, you can do that. Often at the very corners, that is a problem. Now you can see, I'm going to zoom in closer. This has gotten me close, but it is not a substitute for some energy and making sure that the mask is clean. So that will be the first thing that you work on, is restoring and solving any of these edges. Oh, there were too soft of a brush right there. So we're going to make sure that we have a nice clean selection on both sides. And that really is the first step to just about anything that you are doing that is involving two layers together. Okay, so we would go around all the way around. Now I'm going to suggest that you zoom quite a bit in, but not to the point where you start to see the pixel lines. I'm going to push Alt to click back out a click or two. Find a balance. You need to be close enough so you can see, but far enough away so that you have a little perspective and you know where you're going. I'm going to go back to my zoom tool. I can right click now and fit on screen and get all the way back out. So that was with the layer mask already in place. If I delete this mask, and I don't want to apply it, I just want to start over, so I'm going to say delete. If I used my selection tool first, notice just for the record, if you select something you didn't want, if you push Alt, it changes it from an add selection, how it was before, to a remove selection. Okay, so that can be handy. So we will get our selection where we want it, scrub in there. Okay. Now that my selection is in place, I can add a layer mask now. Now it's going to protect what is selected. So I've just selected the background. If I click the layer mask right now, it will cut out my duck, which is not what I'm going for. So I'm going to use the Control-Z shortcut to step backwards. The history tool is up here as well. That can get you there, as well as edit and undo. So instead of having the white protected, instead I want to go to select and invert and protect the duck. You'll notice it's selecting back here. Don't worry about that. Add the layer mask now, and it has done what I just did a second ago. It is like a lot of the things in Photoshop. It's the same place I got to a moment ago. It's just going around the corner. Okay, so it's just, excuse me, that was a selection. I meant to be on my brush. It is just a matter of deciding which direction you want to go around the block. Again, you will still probably need to do some cleaning up and making sure that you have a nice selection. Okay. I'm going to delete this layer mask so that I can get a new one again and talk a second about how gradients can work. Maybe not quite so much here on my duck layer. We'll try it on a plain background layer as well. But if black hides and white shows, then a gradient, which is found under the paint bucket on the toolbar, a gradient just blends between the two colors you have up, your black and your white in this case, but it could be any color that you happen to have. But we're right now on a mask, so that's what I've got. You can do gradients that are in a line, a linear gradient, a radial, prism. It's like a band. You have several choices up here. If I click and drag across the duck, and I'm in the mask at the moment, if you notice on the right, and let go, you'll notice I've made a black to white gradient on my layer mask. So if black hides and white shows, it's hiding the duck up to showing the duck. Okay? So let's try that again. And instead of on the duck layer, we're going to make a brand new layer, and we will color it. Let's just do red so it's easy to see. And I'm going to use the paint bucket, and I'm going to fill just a big red layer on top of my background. Now I'm going to do the same thing. We're going to add a layer mask. Okay, so here's my layer, the red layer. Here's the mask layer. And now I'm going to go back to my gradient, which was under the paint bucket. And I'm going to drag the gradient across the screen. Black hides, white shows. The red is showing and it's fading away to nothing. The gradient will go in whatever direction I drag. So if I click from the bottom corner to the right corner, that gradient will go at an angle. If I go the other direction, so see the black to the white, if I go the other direction, it will reverse the direction the gradient was. Same thing if I go from the top down, and we'll have red on the bottom and fading on the top. This could be a really interesting way to blend two images together. And don't forget that this is still a layer mask. So I can still take a paintbrush. Right now I'm at a pretty hard brush, so I'm going to go back down to a fuzzy brush. And maybe at 100%, but maybe we'll even drop that a little bit. But I can come in and still manipulate this and fine-tune as I want. Okay, it's just a shortcut. The gradient gets me a shortcut to perhaps where I wanted to get to. Okay, and then also don't forget that this layer, you can change the overall opacity of it, and you could change the blend mode. We'll do another video about what this does, all of the different interactions that blend mode can do, but you can always have this happen alongside a layer mask so that you can make a correction or a color change that only affects one piece of your equation.